Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to walk you through one of the most debated technologies of our time, facial recognition. It's a technology that's already woven into our daily lives in ways many of us don't even realize. From unlocking our phones to passing through airport security, what I want to show you today is that the real question isn't whether facial recognition works, it's whether we can deploy it without real limits, transparency, and accountability. So what is actually facial recognition? At its core, that identifies or verifies a person by unique facial features from a photo or a video. Think of it like a digital fingerprint, but for your face. The system captures an image, maps key facial landmarks, the distance between your eyes, the shape of your jawline, and compares that against a database of stored faces. You encounter this more than you might think. Your phone's face unlock, airport gates, even some retail stores tracking how long shoppers linger in certain aisles. Let's look at specific use cases. Facial recognition has spread into four major areas. Law enforcement uses it to compare security camera footage against photo databases to narrow down suspects. Airports are experimenting with touchless boarding. Your face literally becomes your boarding pass. Retailers use it behind the scenes to study foot traffic and optimize store layouts. And the one we all use daily, unlocking our phones with a glance. Now, let's dig into perspectives, starting with law enforcement. From the law enforcement perspective, facial recognition is framed as a modern investigative aid. When police have a still image from a crime scene, face matching can narrow a huge pool of potential leads into a smaller set for review. But here's the critical thing. Even supporters acknowledge that a face match is probabilistic. It's not like DNA. It's an educated guess. Without strong procedures like mandatory human review and corroborating evidence, mistaken identifications can lead to wrongful stops and arrests. This comes from Georgetown Law Center's research by Garvey, Bedoya, and Frankel, which brings us to the accuracy problem. This slide gets at one of the biggest concerns. The technology doesn't fail equally for everyone. Performance varies based on image quality, camera angle, lighting, and crucially, the demographics of the person being scanned. NIST conducted extensive vendor testing and found that error rates differ significantly across demographic groups. This isn't theoretical, it's measured and published. A false match might be a minor hassle for one person, but for someone in a community that's already disproportionately policed, it could mean being wrongfully detained. That's why researchers argue this is fundamentally a policy issue, not just a technical bug to fix. Now, let's look at how business can use it. On the business and consumer side, there are genuine benefits. Face Unlock reduces password reuse. Businesses use it to prevent fraud and speed up service. But the concerns are equally real. In many settings, people don't realize they're being scanned. There's often no way to opt out. And here's the key difference. Unlike a password, you can't change your face after a breach. Once that biometric data is compromised, it's compromised permanently. The FTC's Facing Facts report raised serious questions about transparency and how companies process and share this data. This leads us to the broader privacy implications. This is where the argument gets really powerful. Privacy advocates say facial recognition changes the fundamental meaning of anonymity in public. When you walk down the street, people can see you, but no stranger can instantly pull up your name and social media. Facial recognition makes that possible. The ACLU warns this creates chilling effects. People avoid legal activities like protests or clinic visits because they fear being identified. The core question: who gets to deploy this? For what purpose? And who's watching the watchers? Let's look more closely at the bias issue. The bias issue deserves its own focus because the consequences fall on real people. NIST confirmed error rates aren't uniform. The accuracy depends on which system, what training data, and who's being scanned. Responsible deployment needs three things: independent real-world testing, procurement standards requiring bias evaluations, and safeguards ensuring face matches alone can't drive high-stake decisions. Without these protections, improving average accuracy doesn't help communities bearing the worst errors. So where does this leave us? Rather than allow it or ban it, many proposals seek a balanced middle ground. 5 key ideas: restrict real-time public surveillance, require opt-in consent, minimize data retention, enforce vendor accountability, and give affected communities a real voice in setting rules. The ACLU and FTC both support frameworks along these lines. The technology can have a role, but only within clear, enforceable boundaries. Let me bring this all together. Facial recognition is a perfect example of how one tool can create both real benefits and serious harms depending entirely on how it's used. Law enforcement sees faster investigations, businesses see convenience, but privacy advocates warn about eroding anonymity, and researchers document real disparities in who bears the cost of errors. The most responsible path, depending transparency, requiring independent evaluation, and drawing clear legal lines, preventing facial recognition from becoming invisible, always on identification. Thank you for watching. I hope this has given you a richer understanding of why this technology demands careful thought.